Appreciate you taking the time to be here at the forum. It's a nice cross-section of people today. I'm just back from actually 3 days at the Wilmington Friends School on their visiting committee. It's always fun to get to see another school. It's even more fun to come back and realize the school ran better without you, so it's fun. And then with the day in Boston. But here's how I'd love to start, as we always do. It's a small enough group that we can do it, but also important from my perspective. If everyone could introduce themselves and know where you have kindness, and if you have children in the school, because some don't, know where they are. So Cheryl, would you mind starting?
Hi, I'm Karen Nessa. I'm the Director of Student Support with as well.
And she's one of the people who does not have children.
Susan is Director of Marketing and Communication, and I no longer have a child.
Although, based on last night's presentation, there's 5 more years of plasticity, so it's okay.
Shane Kinsler, head of the middle school. I have a son, Charlie, who's in first grade. Annie, who is preschool, so hopefully pre-K next year.
So Shane has just broken my belief that about a week before Thanksgiving, you do know what grade your children are.
I'm Margaret Van Steenwick, and head of the upper school, and I am voicing here today, so Sue Mannix will speak for me a little later. I am the parent of Marco, who is a 7th grader at Stratford Friends.
Michelle Young, and I'm the son, Mitchell, who's in 11th grade.
Great.
I'm Luz Carvalho. I'm a 3rd grade. Dora is Grace.
Great.
I'm Rabia. I have also a daughter in 3rd grade. Her name is Rithia.
Andrea Harvey. I have a son, RJ, in pre-K.
Becky Brayman. I have a daughter in 6th grade, Sydney, and a daughter in 5th grade, Samantha.
Steve Leibowitz. I have a daughter, Brooke, in 8th grade, and a son, Chase, in 4th grade.
Ready for upper school? Not yet. Upper day, right?
No.
Naomi Shapiro. I have a daughter who graduated last year, who's in college. I have a daughter in 9th grade, and I have a daughter in 4th grade.
You put a lot of pressure on me. I wasn't sure if I was going to get it right.
In this particular instance, we were most concerned that you knew Rachel was no longer here. Bruce.
My name is Bruce Nkala. I'm youth faculty here, but I go to 9th grade.
You do me a favor, would you welcome Bruce? He joined us.
Jasmine?
Yes.
In 9th grade.
Marie Strahan, I have a son, he's a junior.
Ellen Kaplan. Matthew is in 9th grade and Sarah's in 6th grade.
And just so you know, 9th grade's working out just fine.
Yes.
So, okay.
I'm Elizabeth Norris. I have 3 boys, Declan, Evan, and Finn, in 8th, 6th, and 2nd grade.
See, I told you I should have sat between you.
I'm Elizabeth Norris. I'm Elizabeth Norris. I have a daughter in grade 9, grade 10.
You really got panicked on that. As long as you don't have the same husbands, you're okay.
And our children have different last names, which is great.
Which is great.
Helps everything.
Nicole Capabianco. I have 3 boys, grades 1, 3, and 5. Ben, Lucas, and Evan.
Thanks.
I'm Jen Devine. I have a daughter in 1st grade and a son in pre-K.
I'm Debbie Usher. I have a son in 1st grade and a daughter in the 8th.
Hi, I'm Julie Backer. My son Josh is in 3rd grade, and my daughter Chloe's in 1st grade.
I'm Chris Kent, and I have a son, Bobby, in 9th.
I'm Kathy Smith. My daughter Lydia is in 7th grade, and I have 2 graduates.
Trav.
I'm Travis McDonald. I'm the Director of Production, Staging, and Technical Theater, and come to the Fall Plays this weekend.
Same game announcement later. The longer Travis is with us, the longer his title gets.
I'm Margie Morgan, and I have 3 girls in 5th grade, 3rd grade, and kindergarten. I am co-chairing the Shipley auction on April 15th. I would love to see everybody come to that event. Thank you.
Do you want to add? I mean, anybody would like to contribute something?
I would love to. I just didn't want to do that.
I'll give you the chance at the other end. Melissa, she's smiling because she's saying if you didn't, I would. So it's okay. She has.
We need some watch my notes.
It's early. I'm Melissa Bergen, and I have 2 kids, Katie in 7th and Kyle in 4th. Suzanne Gallo. I have two boys in 11th and 8th, Colton and Hunter.
Tim Lightman, I'm the head of the lower school and also father of Chloe, and it's stressed down there. If you walk down the pre-K first grade hall, I guarantee you'll pick out my daughter.
I feel bad for her.
Guys at Polk, I have two girls, Catherine Fish and Annabelle in kindergarten.
Jeff.
Blair, good morning, Co-Director of Community Life, Associate Director of Admissions.
I'm Catherine McLaughlin, and I have a son in 7th grade, Jack.
Courtney Daly, I have 5 boys in 3rd, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 12th grades, and I'm the admissions parent liaison.
And listen, next year you'll still have 5
I
boys,
know.
even though one will
One-
graduate.
I can't.
Chris.
Chris Farr, Director of Development. I have one son, Keegan, who graduated last year, and a son, Henry, in 12th grade.
I'm Betsy Black, Associate Director of Development, and I have 2 boys here, Davis in 9th and Rory in 6th.
I think 9th wins, we have one
Representation.
Right?
So it's a nice cross section. Just so sick. Should we quiz around all the names? Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself?
I'm Martha Peterson. I have 3 kids here.
How old are they?
They are in 11th, 10th, and 4th.
You're welcome.
We were having give and take about whether we know what grades our children are in. So.
Well, I did have to think for a moment.
So it's been a wonderfully active fall in so many ways. It's hard to imagine that actually Thanksgiving is literally less, a week away. And a lot will happen between now and then. I'll mention that we'll have our all-school assembly on Tuesday. Is it at 1? So 1:15. We'd love to have parents there, and the theme of it is gratitude, grace will be the second part of our motto. And it's always a nice message. How many people were able to make it to the first all-school assembly with Greg? So it's a start. Now this one won't focus on sort of either our little acorns or our mighty oaks, but essentially everything that the school is about and the balance. And we would love to have you. What I love to do this one.
It'll be streamed. It'll be on YouTube. We sent the link in the update yesterday.
So that means if you want to say you were here but you weren't, you just watched it.
And it'll be replayed too. You can access it anytime, so then you can really pretend.
And actually we've heard good things about the streaming that's going on, and Travis works really hard at it with us, and we streamed last night. Great. So we'll get to you. What we're going to do is to take a few minutes and really give a sort of updates about where things are in the school, lower, middle, upper. As Margaret has already suggested, she's struggling with her voice. So in fact, Sue will step in and just say a few things that they've already crossed paths about. And then once we've done that, I'm going to ask Chris Farr if he'd be kind enough to just give us an update on our facility situation. I think everybody's aware the common is in use. He's really going to be spending more time talking about the new Learning and Research Center, library that's taking place, and timeframes and all of those things, an update. And then we'll open up for some questions from you. How many parents of students new to the school do we have? New parents. So this is something, one, we hope you're not really feeling now. Although it's time for transition, not just for the students, of course, but for families. And for us, having families involved and active in something like this and other things is of paramount importance, not just for your own knowledge and awareness, but it really helps your kids. It makes a huge difference. And I could go on and on about that, but I'll save that for now. So I'm going to ask Tim, or maybe I should go ask Chloe. Tim's going to say a few things about Chloe.
I would say Chloe actually would love to be up here and model for you. But there's a lot of great stuff happening in the lower school. What I would like to just quickly actually talk to you about and share with you is what's happening in math and science. We did switch math programs last year, did a lot of professional development around that. We did another round of professional development before school began this year, and in fact, we've developed a really good working relationship with the Math and Focus PD folks. Lucy McDermott, who's our new math specialist, who has been amazing, been in all the classrooms working closely with teachers, and is working with them to become a trainer. We're actually going to host an event here at Shipley in March, which we're going to invite, which will be for all the local schools around here, talking about the professional development program and in part showcasing the work that we've done with them. But I think more importantly, we're seeing real differences in kids and what they're bringing into the grades this year. And we're also seeing a sense of excitement around math, which is great. And also in science, we've done a lot of work in science this year on the curriculum. We have a partnership right now in K and in first grade with the Academy of Natural Sciences at Drexel, which has been great. They've actually, in kindergarten, they're studying regular climate and the water cycle. In first grade, they're actually looking at animals, reptiles, fish, and insects, and they're looking at how the adaptations and how they survive. And it will actually end with a what they're calling an animal Olympics, where kids pick out different things that which animal can jump the highest, which is fastest, etc. And it'll end with actually both grades actually going to the Academy of Natural Sciences on a field trip. And we benefit from both their resources and their knowledge. So it's been a great partnership. And in our science program here in 2nd through 5th grade, we've done a lot of work on the program. And we've actually implemented a STEM component to it. So we have robotics now that the 5th grade has been doing, which has been incredibly popular. Dan Delduke, our science teacher, also has an encore club he's doing, and we'll be doing robotics in 3rd grade and 4th grade later on in the year. And at the end of the year, there'll be actually a kindergarten unit that we're doing. So there's a lot of excitement around that. And some of the other stuff we're doing in science is we're continuing our partnership with the Lower Merion Conservancy. They are studying the Asperge Creek, the river there, and the data that they're collecting is actually part of a much larger science project, research project looking at local watersheds. So the kids are actually collecting data that is going to be used in the larger research project. And that was connected to what they did at Echo Hill on their overnight, which was a lot of fun. So that's just to give you kind of a nutshell, a little bit of what's happening. And I would like to plug, tomorrow we have a missions event, Saturday at Shipley, which is a really fun event. It's for kids who are interested and families interested in pre-K, K, and first grade. And it's just an open event, very informal. Kids come in, there's science experiments, music, PE. So if you have any friends you want to bring, please come. It's informal, you can just show up. The information is on the website, but it goes from 10 to 11:15 in the lower school.
Anybody have a question? I trust you know we're also doing English and having the opportunity, by the way, I haven't seen Tim yet, but interestingly enough, the school that I was just part of the visitation team has made exactly the same switch in math. And they were talking about the transition and all the challenges, and clearly it's a great school there, but they're just a little bit behind where we are, so you might get a call.
I do have one question.
Yes.
And it just, when Rachel was in lower school, which was 100 years ago, they opened the computer lab for like a half hour, I don't know, every day before school for different groups. They broke the kids up into groups and they taught them how to type. And they just had like some kind of typing program. I don't think it was hands-on, it was just like, but it was dedicated time to learn how to type. Then that somewhere along the line went away, and we haven't.
Well, it's gone away because we don't have a lab anymore. In
Is
part.
that-
I mean, really, we're really, it's more about,
Yeah.
it's more integrated into the classroom in terms of what I think of it.
They actually do keyboarding. We do continue to do that. It's integrated into the classroom. In 4th grade, they often do it in the morning, right at arrival time. So there is keyboarding practice that goes on in 4th and 5th grade, but particularly in 4th grade.
Are they using like a program to learn how to type?
ASD.
Not that program.
That's a good question.
Were they
It's a
doing
skill.
that all the way through? Because like Ellie never learned how to type right.
Well, I hate to say
That might be Ellie.
Well, no. I hate to say that I never really learned as I should have, and I peck before I look, and I wind up using spelling corrections left and right, and sometimes those don't work either, so it's about, but it's a good, Tim will come back to you, but I know that they do have the typing piece, so we'll go.
And in fact, it is something we've actually been talking about too, if we want to beef it up, because in fourth grade, they're really moving on to the Google Apps for Education. And we're essentially a one-to-one school with laptops in fourth and fifth grade. Each child is assigned a laptop, they don't take it home. But they are moving into using the Google Docs a lot. They still do a lot of pencil and paper writing. And we have strong beliefs in the value of that. So oftentimes in fourth and fifth grade, the generation of ideas, etc., is pencil and paper. It's when they move into the editing and writing process that they move on to keyboard.
By the way, is everyone familiar with Google Apps, with Google Docs? And if you're not, you should be. As they said down at Wilmington Friends, Google seems to be taking over the world. And in education right now, we're not terrifically unhappy with that. I mean, there are a lot of good things, and there are other programs too, but you want to be aware because Google Docs are being used more and more and more throughout our school and everywhere else. Shane.
I want to pick up where Tim talked about the math as well. One of the things that Tim has been great with is coordinating with our 6th and 7th grade math teachers. And I know John Silva is going to be down at the lower school in December when they're having a meeting to look at some of the work. So that continuity of program is making its way up into the middle school as well, which is sort of a nice piece. And it can sometimes cause some concern for lower school families to think of that we're looking after that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the C programs. We had a great night 2 nights ago with Carol Gilligan, talk with 7th grade families who were there about the sex ed program that we have in 7th grade. So as you're coming up to that, you'll see it. But next week we have a transition night for the 8th to 9th grade families, which is amazing. Margaret and her team put on a wonderful night, so families in the 8th grade get to see what the upper school is like. So that's really wonderful. The week after that, when we come back after Thanksgiving, we have Speak Up coming to speak at the middle school, and that's a student-led, student-driven discussion night based around 4 topics that were identified by our middle schoolers. It's open to middle school families. We make sure there's no homework, there's no test or quizzes, so there are no excuses for families not to come. But it's being driven by our students, and they want to talk about issues that are personal and related to them. And it's really wonderful. When you experience it, you don't sit in the same room with your child. You sit in a room with a professional moderator, but other children, other grown-ups, and your children will be in different rooms.
Let me explain it. It starts with a large group session, and then you break out into breakout groups, covering any one of those 4 topics. And Shane has said this, but the criteria is that you not be in the room with your child or children because you're freer, they're freer to be able to communicate. And wonderful things happen. It's a really good program.
It really is. So if you're in the middle school, I hope you'll sign up. We have about 100 people who signed up so far. So we're really seeing a strong sign up. The middle school musical this year is Bye Bye Birdie, which I've never seen the movie, so we're going to watch it over right? So we've been listening to the soundtrack, and my kids are like, why does she keep singing Bye Bye Birdie? So that's going to be starting. I know Margaret's going to talk about the upper school plays, but the middle school musical is that. We actually are doing a screening of it the last week in December for the middle school students because none of them have seen it. So that's going to come up along. But I think in terms of seed, that's what we're doing in seed programs. And then in terms of curriculum, if you had an 8th grader, they just finished their tiny house project, which is a wonderful project that Caroline Feldman designed and worked with our STEAM coordinator in the upper school to basically design and build using the 3D printers a tiny house. So in teams, they had to design it, and trying to get 3 or 4 8th graders to work on a design for a house proved to be quite difficult. I got to see a couple of the samples. Some were really creative, and you could see they put some time into the size of the windows because they were trying to maximize light, but then minimize the heat loss. One group put a toilet right in the middle of the house. They were like, this is just the easiest spot to have it. And they not even just a toilet, they put in a wet room. So they had the toilet and the shower. They said they had the shower nozzle over the door. It was so fascinating, but they had lots of...
That house did not sell well.
They had no storage space. Someone asked them, what about storage space? Well, we don't need a lot, it was boys, we don't need a lot today. And then they're like, we're gonna put them on the floor. So it was fascinating to see, but it really speaks to sort of working in teams and dealing with conflict and trying to come up with a point of being able to agree on a concept and a target. So that's just one example of that seed piece that really is throughout the curriculum. The rocket project that's going to come up in the spring for the 7th graders, and we're going to publicize the times of firing off of the rockets. So if you're in 7th grade, you can sort of swing by the park, come out and see your child shoot off a rocket. That's in 7th grade, where they work with the art department and the science department. They design, build rockets and test fire them on the fields. And the task is to shoot off the rocket, release a satellite, and has to come safely back down to Earth with a parachute. And it's really a trial and error process where they fail multiple times until finally they get it right. So we're going to publicize the times, so if you have a 7th grader, you can swing by and see them, probably from a distance because they won't want you too close, but you can see them shoot off the rockets with the teams. But same as Tim said, it's a really busy time right now, and it's been a great three months, so thank you all.
Questions? Everybody okay? Before I call on Margaret, actually Sue, you've heard about Tim and Shane, and you'll hear Sue speak a little bit about the seed. And I think you all know how important we believe balancing the wonderful academic piece that we know is fundamental to the school with the development of character and compassion and understanding is. And in fact, more and more, we will continue to be who we are and find those things more and more integrated to everything we do in our strategic planning process that's happening. It's clear that our parents, all of our constituents, one, celebrate that, and two, understand the importance of it, and three, believe we want to be able to make a statement about that balance, the real combination of challenging our kids, supporting our kids, and believing in them as individuals so that they can develop the confidence, the creativity, the other characteristics so fundamentally important to not just succeeding in college, but more importantly in life. So you'll hear more and more and see more and more about that. I probably stole a few things from Sharon when she gets a chance to speak, but that's okay.
Danger of going last.
So we were going to do a charade, but we decided that. So I'm really lucky because a couple of the things that Margaret had on her list are things I've actually gotten to personally observe and experience over the last week or so. So I can wholeheartedly endorse the fall plays. I went to the dress rehearsal yesterday. I didn't see the last one, but I will say...
I've seen the last one.
Yeah.
It's
the original. That's the original piece by
written
Tony.
by Tony Morinelli, longtime member of our faculty, who's written any number of thought-provoking pieces about issues in society and issues, as kids develop. And this one is poignant, well done, and thought-provoking. So, and it ties right to our seed program.
Well, in addition to the kids who are phenomenal, and I think what I've always loved about the fall plays is it is full of kids who have never been on stage before. It's not like, the musicals where the talent kind of is developed and honed throughout the years, but kids who get up there, and it's just remarkable to see how confident and accomplished they are and how much fun they're having. And I want to put in a plug for the new Riley Theater. With the new glitzy building, the renovation of Riley has been going on, and the backdrop, you probably have a better, but the screen in the back is phenomenal in terms of kind of scenery. So I highly recommend it. The grill is open tonight in the Shipley Commons. It's open until 7 o'clock tonight. Tonight's show starts at 7:30. And the cool thing is I actually heard some kids yesterday morning before school saying, oh yeah, we need to, get here before 7 so that we can have dinner at the grill. And I think some of the folks who were at the 9th and 10th grade program last night sampled pizza from the grill. How was it? It was great. Great, yeah. $10 for a whole pie tonight.
So the problem is I ate that whole pizza. But the two things I've heard from the kids, and the first time I heard it was I was trying to figure out what they were talking about, was pizza and smash burger. I was trying to figure out what that was. So how many people have heard about smash burger? Mm-hmm. I do have to say, having had one, they're much better than a regular burger.
The seed event last night, actually I'll save that for Sharon, but it was really interesting. STEAM, the makerspace, which is in the old art room in the main building, has been really active and really fun. I think Chris and Wendy and others who are working in there are doing some really interesting things. And I was going to mention the tiny space project, because the middle schoolers are also taking advantage of that space. And I know they're doing a number of drop-in times, so even if you're not in one of the STEAM classes, upper school students and faculty members are able to come in and work on projects, and that seems to be growing week by week. I would also put in a plug to follow Shipley Makerspace on Twitter. They do some really cool stuff, and sometimes the kids are actually looking for ideas to solve problems. So if you want to keep up on that, follow them on Twitter. The upper school has been very focused on welcoming the 8th grade and preparing for the transition, and Margaret used the words, the class is amazing, exuberant, curious, and appreciative. They wanted to see classes, they wanted to see seniors. I, again, had the opportunity to observe a couple of them on a break in the school store, and an 8th grader, a precious moment, just saying, is school like this every day in the upper school? And the upper school was like, yeah, it's really fun. So anyway, there's been great energy around that. I also had the opportunity to see there's a Here and Now English class, and Sunny Greenberg is applying kind of a 21st century assessment to the class. So instead of writing papers, the kids are doing TED Talks, mostly in pairs. I've sat in on 4 of the 7 presentations. They are phenomenal. I think they're recorded, is that right? Pardon me? Yeah, I think they're recorded, so we want to think about how to share it. But what's fascinating, the topics include Syrian refugee crisis, Islamophobia, political polarization. I mean, every single topic, except Elon Musk was the kind of the not quite as topic, it's been pulled out of the headlines, and I learned something from every single one of them. I mean, it's really been phenomenal. So it's just one example.
I should probably talk to her about these things.
Yeah. No, it's really.
I think everybody knows Sunny's my wife.
So what grades is this? I think they're all 12th graders.
Seniors.
They're all seniors. They're all
This is a
seniors.
senior elective this year.
And so engaged. I mean, I think such a practical way to give them the skills. And before they did their presentations, we talked about, what should you be, kind of best practices in presentations, which I think by the time they get to be seniors, they know how to write. So I think it's really cool. And part of the process that Sunny had with them was to meet with them before they did their TED Talk, which resulted in some pretty significant modifications. So not just do it and you get a B, do you know what I mean? Do it, let's figure out how to make it better. So that's been really cool. And Margaret said, still loving the new building. And I have to say, it's busy in the morning, it's busy in the afternoon. Kids, and it seems to be a place where students and faculty members are meeting and connecting. It's just been great.
You did such a good job. Give you my laptop when you get on the job.
No, thank you.
Well, if you want to take over communications. Yes.
Can I ask a question on the new building? Up until, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I could get in and out of the building after school hours, and now it's locked. Was it supposed to be locked and it never was?
So I have to say this. I'm going to hear the answer too, because I don't know.
Okay.
So I'll start and you'll correct me. I think just within the last week, it's been the building, that is the only place you can, actually the main building is locked until 7:55, 8 o'clock, so that kids are required to go, upper school kids are required to go into the Shipley Commons building, and then James, yes, to be supervised. James, who's at the front desk, I think he's there at 7:15, will then let kids into the main building if they need to meet with a teacher, if they want to do a workout or whatever, because I think there was a concern that there was not adult supervision in the main building.
This
I'm
is
not
for
as
the
sure
morning, you mean?
That's the morning.
Okay.
That's in the morning. The afternoon hasn't changed.
So it used to be open, is it now locked? I ran into that this morning myself, so it was okay. Which I wasn't, listen, from a security perspective.
Well, and now that the kids all have their security cards,
Yeah.
they are required to use them. It was taking a little bit of time for
So,
them to get
so
their
the only
card.
question becomes, the challenge becomes, of course, when there are adults who don't have key cards or people who don't, you can be buzzed in. There's a bell. Yeah, there is one.
Yes, there is someone inside.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. When I went this morning, I was like, oh, okay. And then somebody said it. The reality is until everybody had the key cards, it wasn't possible to have all the buildings locked in the way that we think is appropriate. Of course, the irony to the security, and it's good, is it keeps honest people out. I mean, that's what security does in most places. but it should be effective. If you have questions as you see, let us know in that regard, and we'll go from there. But any time that the building is in use, there is someone there overseeing it in one form or another. So, questions on it? I'm going to actually shift the order a bit only because it came up a little bit. Chair, I don't know if you want to add anything else in terms of seed before I call on Chris.
I will. I think it's important, first of all, we use a lot of acronyms, and I'm not sure that everyone remembers what SEED stands for. So it stands for Social, Emotional, and Ethical Development, and it is the name of our K-12 social and emotional learning program. It's changed names over the years, but this is what we've settled on because it does cover all the areas of the character education, the responsibility, respect leadership in middle school, the seminar, so it does cover all those areas. Last night we had the first of the upper school, what we're calling the SEED extension events. And as Margaret shared in her introduction last night, the purpose is really to extend the concepts and topics from the classroom to the home. So we invite parents and students to attend and hopefully have some really compelling speakers and discussions. So last night was Dr. Lawrence Steinberg. He just wrote a book called The Age of Opportunity about the neuroscience of adolescence, and I had heard him before and just really liked his positive message. You know, he starts off talking about all the books about surviving adolescence, and his point, one of the main take-homes is that you don't want to survive, you want to take the opportunities to use the connections that our brains, or their brains were making in that time period, because we heard many times how plastic their brains are and how non-plastic ours are at this point. But he really...
Plastic is good in most
Plastic is good in this sense, the plasticity of
not always with the decision
neuroplasticity.
making, but
But he had a great take-home message for the students about how they can improve self-regulation, and you know, made some really good points to them about, you know, being healthy and all those things that you do for your body include your brain. And I think that is a big part of what we talk about pre-K to 12. So it was really nice to have him here. Those of you who are parents of 6th and 9th graders have been getting emails about a screening that we're doing. We're in the midst of the 9th grade screening, and I liken it to how we screen reading and math and vision. We're screening social and emotional strengths and challenges in our students at certain checkpoints in their education, and it's been really interesting. We're only about 4 days into the 9th grade. We're going to start the 6th grade in a few weeks, right before break. But just kind of getting a sense for maybe a whole class, you know, how their strengths are, their resiliency, as well as maybe some areas that they're anxious about. So it's all of those areas, but it started some really good conversations already. So that's happening, and then Shane talked about the middle school SEED events, and I know there have been a lot of lower school ones with the pop-in parents. So I also oversee the counselors and academic support and the nurses. So if there's any questions on those areas, I'm happy to take those. Yeah, Kat?
Hi Sharon, question for you.
Yeah.
In the lecture, for example, last night, I would have loved to have been there, but I don't have an upper school student.
Yeah.
So I understand there's probably space constraints, but I was wondering if it's possible to open it up to parents, not parents and kids, but parents on some of these lectures.
We can. Last night was a tough one because we were expecting 400 people, but we did record it.
Yeah, well, not just, we streamed it.
No,
And we recorded it.
Oh, it is?
No, we did. We streamed it, and it's publicly visible on YouTube.
I thought
It is
was
public.
great.
Is it? Did I get informed of it and not read my email?
I don't know the answer.
It was on the calendar, but we really were.
I mean, like a middle school.
We'll let you know.
It was-
As a rule, we try to open up any of the events where there's going to be space. Last year it was required of all the 9th and 10th graders and their parents, so I think there's concern about space. But your point is well made. There are 3 things we're aware of, well, a lot of things.
Okay.
One is, of course, that possibility
Right.
that you've just described, and we
Right.
can do better with that. The second is there are events that we think are important for parents and kids to be at together. We're going to work hard in terms of when those are scheduled in the calendar so that it tries to balance both the needs of the students and the needs of the parents. And I heard, and Sharon and I have actually had a talk, is that this could be a hard week for what are obvious reasons with things happening, and particularly with our kids. And we'll be looking at sort of what we call the between week in sports, between seasons, but there are times where this will happen. Third thing is that all of this is now going to be streamed and available on YouTube, and we will make it a point to make sure that people know exactly where and when those things are happening.
And just to preview, the 11th grade and 12th grade extension events that will be in the spring. The 11th grade is having a speaker, Kenneth Ginsberg, whose book, Raising Children Who Thrive, to Thrive. It's about children and thriving. He's excellent.
Some of you may have been in the lower school when he spoke 3 or 4 or 5 years ago.
He's really good.
He's terrific.
He's really good.
So he's coming in April, and that's a required event for juniors and their parents, but we will make that one open. And then the 12th grade event is actually a screening of a shorter version of a film called The Hunting Ground, which will actually be on CNN this Saturday. It's a fantastic documentary about sexual assault on college campuses. And we're going to show a version that's for high school students, and then also do a panel discussion following that, so that we make sure that everyone leaves with a good message about what we can do to prevent this crisis that's happening.
And for those who have asked, and note the Speak Up event in the middle school is one planned for next year in the upper school. Yes?
Would it be possible to post all those events somewhere on the web so that we can plan?
Do we have a specific seed calendar or something?
I don't. They're on
So
the
like-
regular page.
They're on the regular page, I know, but when people looking, so we'll talk about that and try to find a way to make that work.
Do you mean just so you can get all of that on your calendar right now?
Yeah, I'd like to know, because I have a middle schooler here, but I also have a college student, and I'd like to hear about that.
Okay.
Invite the college student if you'd like. Trev.
Maggie Gilligan sent a link to all upper school parents for last night's event, but if you just go to YouTube and type in Shipley Seed event, it should come up as maybe the 3rd or 4th video down. Oh, she hasn't sent it out yet? Well, it's publicly searchable, so if you just go to YouTube and search that.
We'll work on that. Anything else on that? Last two, and then we want to, go ahead.
Just briefly, thank you first of all for making these emotional social screenings available to 6th and 9th graders. When do we have the feedback from them? My understanding, if there's an issue, you hear right away. If
Right.
not, how do we get
I'm
the
hoping
results?
the week after Thanksgiving. There's things that we're hand scoring and then putting into a spreadsheet and then mail merging. So I would think we can have it done in 2 weeks, no longer.
So everyone has some type of assessment, even if they're not.
Only if you agreed to have your child
Yeah.
done.
So yeah, everyone who agreed will have you'll get a letter from me with an explanation and then the scores and then obviously an opportunity to follow up.
And when you get them, please remember a few things. One, this is an indice, and it doesn't speak to anything beyond that. In other words, it's things to look for or whatever. And it's just one piece of data used to help manage things if there's a potential problem. Sometimes it could show nothing, no concerns, and there could be something there. And sometimes it could raise a lot of questions that there really aren't. Both happen, but you need to be aware. Okay. Anything else?
Just a quick comment. For new parents, it would have been nice to know or learn what Beechwood was. No idea where it was, what it was. I've seen it on the calendar that meetings have been here. I
It's a
assumed
great,
it was
you
such
know,
a
listen,
pass.
we're actually in the midst of putting together a whole piece. That's a great suggestion. And I've been here 24 years, and sometimes I wonder where Beechwood is, so it's
I
okay.
mean, I
I
happened
get
that my
it.
son was Skyping with, a student that has been here all through lower school, and I said, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Where is, what is,
Well,
and she gave me perfect directions.
Ironically though, because the building is not used for any academic reasons at this point, it's possible even a student on lower school might not do it. It's well, observations well made. Chris, if you'd be kind enough.
Sure. Welcome, everybody. Imagine my embarrassment when I showed up at this function. I had the same tie on as Dr. Kinsella over here. It's the Acorns Oaks tie, which are available at the Shipley School store. They're going fast. So
Made by Finger Vine.
Dr. Piltch has on another
I almost put that
Finger
same
Vines tie. So. How many people have been in the new Shipley Commons? Great. So you're somewhat familiar with that new facility. It's already been referenced today, but this facility has been terrific. I mean, I think it has exceeded our hopes for the upper campus. Essentially, it has become the social hub for our upper school. If you go in there any particular time during the day, morning, afternoon, early evening, you will see kids, faculty, colleagues, gathering around tables, laptops open, having something to eat in small groups, and even in the galleries up in the Arts Center. It's been terrific. Some of the things that you may not know, however, are the sustainable elements to the new building, and I just wanted to point those out. All of this is available online, by the way, videos associated with these new facilities. So if you go to the Support Shipley section and the campaign section of the website, all of these videos are there. Atop the new Shipley Commons is a solar array. And what's great about that is that it will be able to provide power to about 65% of maximum capacity for this particular building. Underneath the solar array on the roof is a rainwater catchment system. So we're taking all the rainwater, it's being funneled down to these 3 cisterns down here, which in turn pump it back out to the surrounding grass areas to water those. So those are some nice sustainable elements to this new building, which you might not have been aware. It will be LEED Silver certified. So those questions have come up before. The other great thing about this building is that it's really sort of closed off this quad area. And this is all very intentional, we really want our facilities to reflect the kind of community we want to be. And if you're familiar with any of the surveys that we've done recently, community has been and remains a very important element to the Shipley experience, and we want our facilities to reflect this. So creating a quad where both middle schoolers and upper schoolers and all of the colleagues can enjoy is a very important element to this. So across the quad is, of course, the new library, the Learning and Research Center. And I'll take you through that a little bit right now. So the Learning and Research Center also has a green roof. That's another sustainable element there. When you're looking at the facility, not unlike the Shipley Commons, flexibility is the key. Flexibility in furniture, flexibility in space. If you're familiar with the Shipley Commons, you know that we can change it into a assembly very quickly for 400 people, a conference, a presentation very quickly. It's not just a dining area. The same thing can be said for our library space. Our curriculum now demands that we have very collaborative, flexible space. And these areas are all complete with technology ranging from projectors to smart boards to screens. We have open classrooms. We have classrooms that can be opened up to the reading areas. It's a place where both middle schoolers and upper schoolers can quietly read books, but we can also have collaborative interdisciplinary classes gathering in various areas of the library. It may look as if there were fewer books, but we now have book storage down below that is being built, and dumb waiters actually can bring the books up at any point upon request of the librarians. All of the spaces that you see, the furniture is actually movable too. Even the stacks within the interior areas can be movable. So in that sense, it remains very flexible.
Just as a quick side, these people are real, but they don't necessarily do what they're shown doing. For example, Chris Simpson, who you just saw, is a wonderful history teacher. You do not want him teaching your children chemistry.
The other piece to this is that the Director of Educational Technology, Wendy Geidel, will actually have her office in the library as well with librarians. So we very much see this new facility as being the academic hub for both our middle and our upper school students. And we're really excited by it. The timing will be this. We hope and expect that the facility will be complete and ready to move in by spring break. And over spring break, we will complete that move so that by the time the students return at the end of spring break, it'll be open and ready to go.
Our hope is if we do, we'll open it formally, dedicated alumni weekend, I think. First weekend in May.
Yeah, end of April.
End of April, that overlapping weekend, and it'll, it should be special. And the nice part is that the space in between, of course, will become the central quad to the school. And in fact, and I wish I had one here, I think that's where we'll be looking to have our graduation reception, if it's ready. It may not be ready this year because of the construction piece, but that's what we're talking about. So, questions on that? Yes, Court.
I don't have a question, but I just have to say, I have a middle schooler and upper schoolers, and now I go there as a colleague. It's hard to believe in just a few months that the new building ever wasn't there. Like, where did the kids go before? Because they're all, it's amazing. It's like, it feels, we're looking at colleges now with our oldest, and it almost feels like a college, social center. It's so amazing to have that building.
The space has been nice. Selfishly, I'm really looking forward to when the new research and learning center done, in part to have the facility, but some people may not realize this, but those of us, and that's Dave Roush and Adam Boyd-Tevis in his office, and I are sort of secluded where we are. It's like, which for a lot of people, they're happy with that. But you want to be able to go to the center of the campus as quickly
You're a
as
dead end
possible.
now over there.
Margie, did you have a question?
Well, you made a comment about 400 people for reception, and I didn't know if you were planning on renting that out for charities, weddings, bat mitzvahs.
Oh, the facility itself.
Yeah.
We're actually in the midst of having those discussions. We're willing to contemplate it. The balance is making sure, and there are a few instances where they've already been used, and we make it available outside because we need to be good community members and all those things. And it's a great part. We just need to make sure whatever we do balances those needs with making sure our staff and others are able to function in a way that's reasonable. So there's a maintenance part of it, but we are looking at that. Just as we make our fields available, But I'm not sure if you were out, I use this, is that the township is in the midst of developing a comprehensive plan for the entire, how many people live in Lower Merion? So if you haven't heard about this, you should, but that directly impacts the abilities, capacities to build and to do other things. So with that always comes, with whatever is in place, the township, for example, is contemplating something that wouldn't allow us to use our parts of our facilities for our own use, i.e. if you wanted to have people come in for a tennis camp or something like that. But they'd be happy to have us use them to let the township do their thing. So we're in a little bit of a, by the way, it's two different bodies. It's not, the building, they're in a tough spot. So it'll be very interesting, but you'll hear about it. Yes?
In regard to that, if we do live in Lower Merion, we can have an impact on that. If you could maybe explain what the school's position is, we could talk to.
Yeah, we'll be happy to keep you abreast. It's sort of been, institutions in the area we have been hosting meetings and all. And it's in a good place. It's not, they understand. I mean, I'd say it this way. Raise your hand again if you live in Lower Merion. All right, so here's the thing. If you live in Lower Merion, you'll know the following. The township benefits by having a lot of wonderful institutions associated with it. And the most powerful voice in the township is not the institutions. It's the residents. And so as residents complain, they respond. And so it's an interesting thing to work. They don't realize that if the school left, what they'd have is not something they'd like better. Right. And in most instances, schools and colleges have been here long before residents were. But I can capture the essence this way. And this story is how old's the lower school's now 15, 16 years old. As we were in that process, which ultimately got approved, but there was this discussion. How can you do that to our campus? That came from the neighbors. I was like, you know, when we had to begin to reinforce our rules, develop that there are not dogs allowed on the campus. That wasn't, you know, we had an incident. It's about almost 15 years ago, where unfortunately a child was bitten by a dog that shouldn't have been here. Do I have to tell you what our guideline is? I hope not. But we need to have that guideline, one, in terms of the safety of our kids. And there are exceptions when, you know. And two, frankly, our insurance company wouldn't insure us if we continued to allow dogs. We can't be in that situation. You know? And not just dogs, by the way. So it's sort of an interesting part. Are there questions on other things? I want to thank Chris and Sharon's lost weight very quickly. Sharon and Shane and Mark. Oh, I'm sorry. You just moved it. You got Bean. Thank you. Tim and, you know. Selfishly, I love the opportunity to walk to school and hear and see what's going on. And the thing that is most reinforcing my hope is that it's about our students and about them both as individuals but as a larger group, and the ability to be celebrated as individuals and at the same time that they learn to cooperate and collaborate, not always at home as well as they want, but cooperate, collaborate, and do the things that you need to do will make a huge difference as they move forward. Questions on anything else, topics of concern, whatever they might be? None. People nervous? Any questions on anything at all? Has it been a good fall for all of you? We've had terrific weather. I mean, oh my gosh, just terrific weather, and been very, very, very lucky. Thanksgiving, of course, will be next week, and then, I hate to say this, but the time between Thanksgiving and winter break will go like that. So, as I urge every year, is I hope you're provided with the opportunity to get some time for yourselves and your families, and to slow down enough that it's enjoyable, and offers you just that bit of moment to be able to celebrate where things are with the hope, the desire, the commitment to bring them forward. Thank you for being here today, and I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy.